Hey everyone, thank you so much for clicking on this video. The fact that you are willing to sacrifice a few minutes out of your day to consume my content really does mean the world to me. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to my channel because I review everything that gets released on Netflix. So if you're a Netflix nut, come to my channel and I will help you out in figuring out what is good, bad, completely mediocre. And today we're going to be talking about Pacific Rim The Black Season 2, which is of course a direct sequel to The Black Season 1. And so what did I think of this season in comparison to Season 1? Just as engaging, a little bit more rushed, action was just as good. So if you're a fan of Season 1, what you're going to be getting out of Season 2 is pretty much exactly the same, par for the course. And that's great because I've seen far too many shows on Netflix where Season 2 comes out and there's a massive drop in quality. And thankfully, in regards to the animation, the voice acting, the script, everything is in the same vein as the original season. And that just really made me happy to see because I was once again hooked. Season 1 ended in such a way that left me wanting so much more. In fact, I was worried it was going to be cancelled because Netflix has this trend of cancelling some of my favorite shows after just one season. I mean, they've done it with Archive 81, they did it with Jupiter's Legacy, they did it with The Dark Crystal, and I can guarantee you guys yourselves know countless other shows that have been cancelled by Netflix after just one season. So I was a little bit worried they would do the same with this show, but thankfully it's come back for Season 2 and it is just as good as Season 1. So yes guys, the animation's still up there. And unfortunately, if you didn't enjoy the animation from Season 1, because I can understand why people didn't, the cell shading might not work for everyone, the frame rates and some of the character movements might not work for everyone, but if you can look past those and just enjoy it for its uniqueness and its visuals, then you're definitely going to enjoy this as well, because the kaiju that they're able to create through this art style are truly memorable. Some of these designs actually rival the designs of the kaiju from the movies. But then once again, I have to say, sometimes this show feels like it's completely separate to the Pacific Rim movies. Now I understand that they're not exactly tethered together. The makers of the movies really didn't consider the fact that there'd be a Netflix anime style show based off of the movies. But when you look at the show, the creators and the writers of the show, they were just like, you know what, let's make these kaiju and these Jaegers so much more like over the top than they were in the movies, because flipping hell, the Jaegers in this series can take a freaking beating. When you watch the movies, you're kind of under the impression or the feeling that the kaiju are just infinitely stronger than the Jaeger, simply because the Jaeger just fall like flies in comparison to the kaiju. Whereas in this series, a single Jaeger can go up against like 3 different kaiju and come out arguably unscathed. Yes, they're like, oh my gosh, the systems are damaged in this place. But when you actually look at the model that they're using for the kaiju, it's in pretty good shape. And so I'd say that's probably the biggest inconsistency between the series and the movies, despite all of the other, witchcrafty mumbo jumbo stuff that's also mixed into the series, because this season definitely delves a lot more into the fantastical. And now this is something I did enjoy about Season 1, is that we were painted a version of the Black, this version of Earth once the kaiju have taken over, where we actually don't know everything. Like even things in our actual world have changed since the immersion of the kaiju. And this carries on in Season 2, which I really enjoyed, because there were a lot of, hints or clues, or even I would say foreshadowings that happened in Season 1 that get a little bit of closure here in Season 2. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And that made me happy, someone that was a fan of Season 1. Now, I would just like to say this. I've compared Season 2 and Season 1 together a lot, which of course makes sense, they're the same property. But what I will say, the biggest difference between Season 1 and Season 2, in my opinion, besides the introduction of the more fantastical elements, because that becomes a very large part of the show. Besides those differences, there's a massive difference in the overall tone and feeling of Season 2. In Season 1, we feel like our characters are going on this massive trek across this massive wasteland. We feel the exhaustion of their journey because we've been with them there and it feels like they're really walking across the entire country. In season 2, they're walking and they keep talking about the distance they've walked, but it never feels as exhausting. It never feels like it's as big an undertaking. It never feels as massive an ordeal. It would kind of feel like if you're watching The Lord of the Rings and you never understood that Sam and Frodo were really walking all the way to Mordor. Rather, they were just like, yeah, we've walked so far. Hey, Frodo. Like that. That's kind of how it felt in season 2, which I'm not 100% upset about. I mean, it's kind of missing that central like mechanic from season 1. But the reason I feel like it doesn't necessarily dampen my enjoyment of it that much is because the new elements they brought in really shifted the focus of the show. And we don't necessarily need to feel the same way we did in season 1. Another major gripe I have with the show, and this will be my final point in this review, but a major gripe I have for season 2 that was also present in season 1 is the introduction of new characters and then how those characters are just written off. I'm not going to explain how the show does this, but if you have watched season 1, if you haven't picked up on this, I'm about to ruin it for you. But every time they introduce a new character, they introduce this character that either has specific quirks or abilities or something that can help build the lore. It's exciting and you want to know more about this character. And then the show just gets rid of them one way or another. And they usually only last about like one episode. And yes, I understand you don't want to have this massive ensemble cast in a wasteland and you don't want people to be coming back 24/7. But the way they constantly write characters off would only work in a show because it feels very world breaking, because everything just so happens to happen when our main characters are around. So yeah, that's my major gripe, because I feel like it became lazy writing at the end of season 1, and especially in season 2, the trope became so paramount, so incredibly oblivious. Every time a new character was introduced, I was like, yo, I bet this is going to happen with this amount of time, and then it always ended up happening. But yes, guys, I really enjoyed this show nonetheless, and I'm pretty damn sure that anyone that is a Kaiju fan is going to love this. If you enjoy anything to do with Godzilla, Mothra, any, massive just Japanese monsters, I would say even Attack on Titan, if you enjoy that sort of vibe, if you enjoy that overall genre, then you're definitely going to enjoy this season. But guys, thank you so much for watching. You are the best. You are awesome. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do so. And I hope to see you again in another review. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching that video. I really do appreciate it. If you did and you want to watch more of my content, then quickly subscribe. But I want to let you know about the podcast that I'm busy running over on Zapcast's YouTube channel. If you are a content creator wanting to learn, then check out the ABCs of content creation. And if you are a nerd like me, check out the weekly Fundamentals.